Shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to where it is due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chakwadash. And double honors as always to the apostles, bishops, elders of Great Millstone, who were well, and who taught us the truth. Today's lesson is going to go into really Sirach 3 and 24, or Ecclesiasticus. And going into, not trusting in your own opinion, because your opinion is misleading, it's vain. So let's just go ahead and get that real quick. And Ecclesiasticus 4 and verse 20, what was it again? What was it? 3 and 24, Slakia. Ecclesiasticus or Sirach 3 and verse 24. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment. And the main focus is going to be on the first part of that verse, where it says many are deceived by their own vain opinion. And I went to ChatGPT and I said, explain it. It says, for many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment. Many are deceived by their own vain opinion. People often trick themselves because they think too highly of their own ideas. And that's the first thing that you got to do when you come into this truth. Speaking to myself first and foremost, understanding that you're not that guy. You're not the dude. You're not the only one that the Most High notices. No, man. And any idea that you may have had, you got to put that to the side. Because when you come into the truth, anything that you thought about doing when you first started, well, I'm gonna go do this, I'm gonna go do that. Well, and then it don't even end up happening. A lot of people think too highly of themselves and their own ideas, their own thought process. And we have instances of what happens to those individuals that think highly of their own ideas. Look at the leader of Sakari. What happened to him? Or the previous leader of Sakari. What happened to him? He had a high idea. Well, I'm gonna leave GMS and I'm gonna go start my own thing, and we're gonna call it Sakari. That's a vain opinion. You was deceived. Look what happened to him. And now we're seeing another group that just came up into the works, Genesis. Oh yeah, we're gonna leave Sakari. Well, one got kicked out, and then the other one left. Oh yeah, okay, we're gonna get this one started. Now we're gonna teach that non-Israelites can be saved. That you're deceived, man. The scriptures say what should have been for their welfare, let it become a snare. That's what King David said in Psalm 69, and then it references it again in Romans the 11th chapter. Let's get Romans the 11th chapter first, and then we'll go to that Psalm 69. Romans 11 and verse 10. 9. Romans 11. We'll start up. Romans 11 and verse 7. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. Everybody else has been blinded. Everybody else has been deceived. They think too highly of themselves. They think too highly of what they want to do, rather than what the Yahweh Shem Yashai requires us to do. Blinded.
Strong's G 4456. Porao.
It says to make the heart dull, to become dull, to lose the power of understanding. Blind, hardened. So they've been blinded. They've been deceived. The Lord Yahweh Shem Yashai gave them over to that, man. Verse 8. According as it is written, the Most High hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And David saith, let their tables be made a snare, and a trap, and a stumbling block, and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back always. And What is a table? What would have been for their welfare, but their table is now being made a snare. These scriptures, the understanding, cause they was prideful. These scriptures, this truth is supposed to be for your welfare, man. But a lot of individuals get too highly, they get boastful, they get proud, they get arrogant, and then the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahshua bugs them out. Psalm 69 and verse 22, let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. So this is supposed to be for your welfare, for your benefit, for salvation. Shalom, Ace 7965. Shalom, shalom, completeness, soundness, peace, completeness, safety. This is supposed to be for your safety, man. Peace. Let's see, quiet, tranquility. But it became a snare unto them, man. A trap. Lure, H 4170. It says mawa quash, bait, lure, snare, jinn, ensnared, hook. You got hook, line, and sinker, man. Because these people have been deceived, and then it throws them off. And now they think that non-Israelites can make it. Now they think that you can have sex on the Sabbath. Now you think that John the Baptist fell out the truth. Now you think the MOTB is sin, etc. Man, these people, these false doctrines are just opinions by these people, man. What does it say? Doctrines of devils. First Timothy 4:1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to the seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. They actually think they're right. They actually think that they're right, and they're not, man. I believe it also says doctrines of men. See if we can pull that one up. That's the one I was thinking about, actually. That was a good one, though. This is a vain opinion right here, man. Doctrines of men. Slovakia. I've got a phone call. But yeah, man, these people, they're doctrines of men, which is what? Vain opinions. And they've been deceived, man. Matthew 15 and verse 8. We'll start up. Verse 7. Matthew 15 and verse 7. There's Yahweh speaking. Ye hypocrites, well did Esaias, which is Isaiah, prophesy of you, saying, this people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Get that word vain now. In vain.
Strong's G 3155. Matain.
It says what? It says vain through the idea of tentative manipulation. Tentative manipulation. Tentative is not a standard psychological term, but it can be interpreted as subtle, hesitant, or experimental use of influence tactics to gauge a reaction or achieve a goal without overt aggression. It often involves testing boundaries and escalating if no resistance is met. Tentative manipulation, man. It's all vain. It's just all manipulative, man. It says fruitlessly. So, and then what did it say? Let's get that in the NLT because I had seen it. Matthew 15 and 9 in the NLT. Their worship is a farce. For they teach man-made ideas and commandments from the Most High. Man-made ideas. Man-made ideas, man. Ecclesiasticus 3, verse 24. For many are deceived by their own vain opinion, and an evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment. Now, when you go back to that ChatGPT, what did it say? People often trick themselves because they think too highly of their own ideas. Matthew 15 and verse 9 in the NLT. Their worship is a farce, for they teach man-made ideas as commandments from the Most High. These are just man-made ideas that they've been deceived by. They've tricked themselves into thinking too highly of these man-made ideas. It says vain opinion, proud thinking, leaning on your own understanding of wisdom from the Most High. Or it's like it says, leaning on your own understanding instead of wisdom from the Most High. What does that remind me of? Proverbs 3 and verse 5. Trust in the Lord Yahweh with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. We're not supposed to be leaning on our own understanding. We're not supposed to be leaning on our own ideas. Because if you lean on your own ideas, what does that lead to? It leads to being deceived. And what happens to the deceived, man? Let's see, 27 verses. Right here, look. Ephesians 5 and 6. Here's what happens when you're deceived. Ephesians 5 and 6. Let no man deceive you with vain words. These are vain words, man. These are vain ideas, vain opinions. For because of these things cometh the wrath of the Most High upon the children of disobedience. And then I tell you, don't be fooled by those who try to excuse their sins, these sins, for the anger of the Most High will fall on all who disobey him. So if you're being deceived, the anger of the Most High Yahweh Shem Yahshua is going to fall upon you. And you're going to be destroyed. Wrath. Verse 7, back in the KJV. Be not ye therefore partakers with them. We're not supposed to follow after these ideas and commandments of men. These individuals who are claim to be following Yahweh Shem Yahshua, but they've been deceived by their own vain opinions. So it says what? It says proud thinking, leaning on your own understanding instead of wisdom from the Most High. We just got in that Proverbs 3. It says, it means your own mind can fool you when you rely on ego instead of truth. And that's exactly what these individuals are doing. They're relying on ego rather than Yahweh Shem Yahshua. So that's what we'll just keep going. Evil suspicion hath overthrown their judgment. Evil suspicion, negative assumptions, mistrust, paranoia, jumping to conclusions. This kind of thinking ruins a person's ability to make sound decisions. And when all hell breaks loose, man, these individuals, they're not going to be able to make sound judgment. They're not going to have sound decisions because up until this point, they've been trusting in their own selves rather than Yahweh Shem Yahshua. Sirach 3 and 24 is a warning that your own thoughts can be your downfall if they're rooted in pride. What does it say? Pride goeth before destruction. Proverbs 16 and verse 18. It says, pride goeth before destruction, and an haughty spirit before a fall. So these people who are prideful, these people who are rooted in pride is going to lead to their destruction, to their downfall, to their demise. Look, and then it says tie in with scriptures. Proverbs 3 and 5, lean not into thine own understanding. Jeremiah 17 and 9, the heart is deceitful above all things. Sirach 5 and 2, follow not thine own mind and thy strength. Let's get those last two, then we'll end it off right there. Jeremiah 17 In verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? These people just let their mind run rampant within themselves rather than rebuking their thoughts, rebuking their mind, rebuking their ideas, rebuking themselves. And then it leads to them being deceived, and now they're destroyed. Desperately wicked, man. Ecclesiastes, Sirach 5 and verse 2. Follow not thine own mind and thy strength to walk in the ways of thy heart. And that's exactly what these individuals are doing, man. They're walking after their own ways. They're walking after their own mind, their own ideas, their own way. And we see where it has led them and is going to lead them, man. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying to the spirit, to the body, and to the fold. And before I did all, I think of all praises, honor, and glory to where it is due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Chakwadash. And the bonus is always to the apostles, bishops, elders of Great Millstone. Until next time, Shalom.